When you see a stock go down for months and months, but the business continues to do quite well, that's usually the time to start asking questions and maybe the market is missing something here and maybe there is a huge opportunity to buy this certain company. Now, this company we already talked about a couple of times in the last 2 months or so because it has become so cheap, yet the company continues to perform quite well financially. But of course, if the stock has no momentum, then you're catching falling knives. Now the stock here in question, the company in question is of course Evolution AB. Now I've talked about Evolution AB a bit more in the last couple of weeks. They recently reported their latest quarterly figures. Stock went down afterwards, but right now, Friday, the stock on European markets, it's already up 4 point something percent. Right now, as you can see, on Thursday, the stock did drop 6.5%. This is OTC markets. If you want to buy that in dollars, you can buy it also in Swedish kronen, but I rather show you this time here the dollar equivalent. It's a company with a market cap of $15.4 billion, a forward PE of 12.3 times. The last year, the stock is down 34.5%, and in the last 3 years, the stock is down, about the same, 34.4%. As you can see from the analyst expectations for fiscal 26 and 27, this company is still expected to grow nicely. It also pays a nice dividend and is buying back a lot of shares. Actually, the new buyback program means that it will retire just over 3% of the shares outstanding. And if we look at the average analyst price target, even after all of the bad news, the reports, the stock coming down, it sits 44% higher than the price we're at today. So let me explain a bit more about Evolution AB in this video, touch on a couple of figures from the earnings report, and touch on the market that they're playing in and how fast that's expected to grow and what's happening in the United States, because that is a huge growth opportunity. If you're interested in that, hit all the buttons, would really appreciate that. If you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment, hit the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. So we first have the major overview. Net revenue increased 12.3%. Total operating revenue increased 31.5% year on year. EBITDA increased 35%. Then we can see here profit for the period up 33.3%. We can also see that the segments here, there are two business segments, the live casino and the random number generator. This has been the part of the business that has been struggling for a long time. But finally, we are seeing some positive changes with regards to that business. It's growing okay year over year. Finally, some organic growth there as well. So that's always nice to see because they did spend some money for that segment and it has been a struggle for the business. So if we can finally see RNG grow nicely, that should be a good tailwind. Looking at where the revenue is being generated, we see that the two largest markets are Europe and Asia, about the same, with Asia not growing that much in the last couple of quarters, Europe growing a little bit faster than that. But we've got faster growing markets, that's North America and a bit Latin America, but that's much smaller. But North America, I'll focus a little bit more on that later on. If we look at share of regulated markets, you can see that it has been growing a little bit in the last couple of quarters, and revenue from regulated markets continues to grow as well, which is very good. They are also going to focus more on regulated markets because, eventually if you're going to regulated markets, you have less question marks at the end of the day, plus the barrier of entry becomes bigger and bigger. So it's a big positive for a company like them. Now I do want to touch on this, the concentration of the customers. As you can see right here, their top one customer generates 13% of the revenue. If you look at the top 1 to 5, that's 46% of the revenue for 2024. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. This is high concentration. As for outlook and a couple of comments here. So for 2025, they expect strong product roadmap, continued expansion, 3 to 4 studio openings during 2025, and execution on capital returns. They talked a little bit here about the Georgian studio, the cyber attacks. So they said here, it's been a year in which we have handled several challenges such as the sabotage activities towards our Georgian studio, cyber attacks in the Asian region, and also an increased tax rate. For 2025, our first priority continues to be growth and to increase market share in the expanding online casino market. Expansion will continue in 2025 with a slightly more expensive resource mix, taking into account the situation in Asia and a strengthened focus on regulated markets. We expect to see an effect on margin. And so zooming out a little bit, we can see that, well, this is a business that continues to grow. Now, I've said, yes, RNG is the segment that has not really grown that much, but now we are expected to see that finally move in the right direction, but live revenue continues to perform extremely well. As for the future expectations, we've seen the revenue expectations from the analysts, but what about free cash flow? Free cash flow for fiscal 25, deceleration from the last 12 months. It's expected to grow 8.3%, then another 8% in fiscal 26, but then reaccelerate to 17.2% year-over-year growth in fiscal 2027. Now, remember I said focus on the North American market? Well, because this is happening. This comes from Thomas on X. So he said that the online casino revenue in North America grew 34.2% year over year in December and 32.8% year over year in Q4. Ontario in Canada has now started reporting monthly as well. So if you follow this guy on X, you will get valuable information. Looking at what Grandview Research expects the online casino market to do worldwide, we can see that it's expected to grow 12.4% between 24 to 2030. That's at compound annual growth rate. If we focus only on the US online gambling market, that's at 12%. Now, what's important here is if we look at the top 10 online gambling markets, what do we see? Number one, US. What do we also see? Brazil is in the top 10, and Brazil becomes a very, very important market for Evolution AB. One market, the Latin American market, is a market that they're focusing on and expected to expand there aggressively. Touching back to the United States, we see that only 7 states have legalized online casinos so far. My expectations are, and plenty of people's expectations are, is that more and more states will follow. Why is that? Well, you can collect taxes. So it makes sense. If this is something we looked at in the past video, US legal sports betting. So we have 38 states plus DC that have live and that's legal. 1 state that is legal but not operational. Then you've got Texas, active or pre-fight legislation. And then we've got 6 states with no legislation in 2025 and 5 states with dead legislation in 2025. So if we look at the difference here, 7 compared to, well, a big amount here. This is, of course, there is a difference, sports betting, online casinos, but I mean, if you can reach this scale, there's a lot of money to be made. And so looking at this stock right now, here we can see, well, RSI was a little bit oversold last week, around the same area where it did rebound back here in September of 2022, around the $70 mark. So maybe this area is an area of rebound. Like I said, this is still prices from Thursday, but on the European market, if we switch to that, we can see we've seen a rebound on Friday. Stock is up 4%. Yes, it's true that here still it is under the 20-day moving average, but it does seem like this area has been an area where the stock did rebound. And look, I understand these types of companies, these types of businesses are not for everyone. Some people might call them sin companies, sin stocks. Completely understand. But when you look at this from an investment's perspective, you get a dividend. You get share buybacks. And right now, that's 3.3% of the company. So, I mean, that's great. You get growth, you get profitability, you get a stock that is down quite a lot. I mean, it's like the perfect combination, right? It's a perfect combination. If I didn't have as many companies in my portfolio as I have right now, I would have probably opened a position in Evolution. And maybe I might even in the next couple of weeks, depending on what happens with the other low-hanging fruits in my portfolio. But yeah, if you're looking for growth, profitability, under pressure stock, still a growing market, I think this one might be the perfect stock. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, all of that, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.